Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
And welcome. Please find a service pamphlet, the Siddur, our prayer book for the day, and turn to page 1. And join us in our opening song, Hine Mato. Hine Matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Let's try that again. Hine Matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov umanayim shevet achim gam
Now sing after me. How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is to be together on this day.
We sing that together. How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is to be together on this day. Shalom Aleichem. Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem. Salam Aleikum.
Try it.
Shalom Aleichem. Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem. Salam Aleikum. Hine Matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad.
Get ready.
Hine Matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad.
How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is to be together on this day.
How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is to be together on this day.
Shalom.
Shalom Aleichem. Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem. Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem. Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem. Salam Aleikum. Once again, Shabbat Shalom. Oh, I think we have to try that again. On the Jewish Sabbath, which begins Friday night and continues until sundown on Saturday night, when we see one another, we're so happy to greet one another, especially at a wonderful celebration, experience of joy, what we call simcha, joy, like this day. We enthusiastically greet one another with the greeting, Shabbat Shalom. All right, ratchet it up, the volume, right? 1, 2, 3. Shabbat Shalom! Shabbat Shalom! Oh, thank you. It's so wonderful to be here and to welcome all of you to Temple Israel. My name is Jason Gwazdoff. I'm the rabbi of the temple, and this is Lindy Passer, who happens to be my wife, and she is our music director and soloist, and together with Alyson, we will be leading a joyous Shabbat afternoon service. And I know that there are many of you here who have been to many services, and a bunch, I'm guessing, who've never been to a synagogue and never experienced a service like this before. I think you will find it meaningful. I think you will find it joyous. And what we invite you to do is to not be a passive observer, but to really try to be an active participant, to join in the readings, to sing the songs just as much as you can, even though they're new. We're not auditioning you for the choir. You don't have to be a good singer. It's really the ruach, the spirit that you bring to it. And I promise if you do it in that way, that this experience will be so much more meaningful and joyous for you. So, and I always like to share this silly joke. If the Hebrew gets in the way, lie, 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 works just fine. So every time we come and we sit together In the temple, in our sanctuary, we create a community, what we like to call a kihila kedosha, a holy community, because we've come here for a purpose, and we're not just a country club. This is a meaningful experience where we're going to learn from Alyson words of Torah, words and the values of our tradition that have been handed down for thousands of years. So we create each time this community anew, and we do it by raising our voices together in song and in prayer, but by also connecting with one another. So I'm going to invite you to be noisy for a minute and to turn in every direction and introduce yourselves to the people all around and wish them a Shabbat Shalom. And let's come back together. It's always scary to give people permission to talk, especially when Jews are present. We're very gregarious and we love to talk. Our service continues now, and it's my pleasure to invite onto the bima Nuni, grandmother Mary Maloy, great-grandmother Margaret Jones, and grandmother Caroline Nelson for a special family blessing.
And while they're coming up, I'd just like to make a note. Come on up. Please turn off your cell phones at this time so that they don't disrupt the flow of the service. So thank you very much for that.
You can all stand together side by side.
May you live to see your world fulfilled.
Let's turn around so you're facing the congregation.
May your destiny be for worlds still to come, and may you trust in generations past and yet to be. I love you. She's great.
Okay, go stand with your other grandma.
May your heart be filled with intuition and your words be rich in understanding. May some songs of praise ever be upon your tongue and your vision clarify a straight path before you.
May your eyes shine with the light of holy words, and your face reflect the brightness of the heavens. May your lips speak wisdom, and your fulfillment be in righteousness as you yearn to hear the words of the holy ancient one of old.
As you can see, it's kind of difficult not to kiss and hug this one. So as you look around the sanctuary, you see a lot of symbols, a lot of ritual pieces that we use in the service and that adorn our sanctuary. And you see on many of the people on the bima this raised platform and sitting out in the pews, also ritual items. Many are wearing a kippah, a head covering, and many are wearing a talit, a prayer shawl. And we have here a beautiful, beautiful talit that Alyson chose for herself in our Judaica shop here at Temple. You have very good taste, young lady. But the importance of the talit has nothing to do with its beauty, with the colors, with the fabric. It's all about these simple fringes that are affixed to the four corners called tzitzit. And kind of like tying a string on your finger, these tzitzit are meant to be a reminder because they're tied in a very specific and special way, every Hebrew letter having a number assigned to it. And so it's kind of a code, the coils and the knots and the coils and the knots. And if you know the code, it actually says, Adonai Echad, God is one, which is really the foundational belief of Judaism. It's where it all begins, really. That idea that, in contrast to what people in the ancient world believed, that the sun was a god and the moon was a god and that statues had power, the beginning of Judaism is the recognition that there's one God that is the source of all creation, the planets and the stars and the earth and the plants and the animals and all humanity, all created by one God. And if we follow the logic of that teaching, we're constantly reminded as well that every person we encounter, even if they don't look like us, even if they practice a different faith, even if the color of their skin is different or they speak a foreign language, is also a creation of that same God. And our job is to look and find that spark of divinity in every other human being. Right there. And another way of looking at the tzitzit is a reminder of the commandments. How many commandments? Not just the Big Ten, but the 613 commandments that are in the Torah. Today, Alyson receives her talit for the first time as she crosses over, as she makes this transition in her young life, becoming a bat mitzvah, a daughter of the commandments, ready to accept new responsibilities for herself. And so it's a pleasure now to invite her mom and dad, Pauline and Benji, onto the bima to present her with her talit and to share a few words of blessing. Nice and loud.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushani b'mitzvotav v'tzivani v'hitatei b'tzitzi.
Alyson, you finally made it. It's your bat mitzvah, and it looks like everybody showed up. They say that as parents, you'll end up with a child that's just like you, and of course I didn't believe it until you were born. The older you got, and the more you talked, I realized, dang, you're a mini-me. By the way, sorry, Mom. Yep, you got it all. The same blue eyes, the same love for fishing, the same humor, the same attitude, and of course our extreme height. Honestly, I wouldn't change it for anything. Please never forget I love you more than you'll ever know. Don't lose sight of the amazing person you are and becoming. Never give up on your dreams. Believe in yourself as much as I believe in you. I know you can do anything you set your mind to. Don't let anyone tell you you can't do anything, except if that person's me, and I've probably already done it, and it's a bad idea. Alyson, just know that if you ever need me, I will always be there for you to make those lifelong casts go live. Love you.
Alyson, you are truly my Alyson in Wonderland, always curious and curiouser, so eccentric, and my wildflower. You amaze me often with your creative imagination and your entirely different outlook on the world. It sometimes feels like I'm falling into the rabbit hole of your nonsense, your whimsical and surreal Wonderland. From the moment you were born, I knew you were different, unique, a little different from the rest. You're the one person I know that can think of at least 6 impossible things before breakfast, and the one person I know that would put them into reality. Yes, my future EMT astronaut. Size does not matter. Good things come out of small packages. You may be small, but you are mighty. You can do anything you put your mind to. The Cheshire Cat would tell you that you are mad, and it's only because you are quirky and oftentimes unpredictable, but you should always embrace that. If we could only see the world from your eyes, because you view this world so differently from the rest of us, and it does truly amaze me. I often wish that you could see how I see you through my eyes, because then you might know how proud I am of you. As you move on to the next chapters of your life, please remember that a true hero isn't measured by the size of his strength, but by the size of his heart. Have courage and be kind. Nothing's impossible, and the flower that blooms in adversity is the most beautiful and rare of them all. Remember, you're the one who can fill the world with sunshine, and today's special moments are tomorrow's memories. So aim for the stars, because you can make any dream a reality if you just put your mind to it. And I hope you remember to always stand tall, stay young at heart, and know that this is your dream, and you need to decide where we go from here.
At important and joyous times in Jewish life, we say a special blessing, thanking God for giving us life, for sustaining us, and for bringing us to celebrate these happy moments. And it's the Shehechianu, which is on the bottom of page 2. Please join us.
It's kind of in the middle.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheanu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheanu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. And now, please put your hands together as we continue on the bottom of page 2. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Kol hanshama.
Kol hanshama, te hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol hanshama, te hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Kol hanshama, te hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol hanshama, te hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. And now Alyson will take over the leading of our service as we continue on the top of page 3. Honoring one's father and mother, acts of love and kindness, diligent pursuit of knowledge and wisdom, hospitality to strangers, visiting the sick, celebrating with bride and groom, consoling the bereaved, praying with sincerity, making peace where there is strife, and the study of Torah leads to them all. Praise be the eternal God, who has implanted mind and instinct within every living being. Praise be the eternal God, who has made me a Jew. Praise be the eternal God, who has made me to be free. Praise be the eternal God, who helps the blind to see. Praise be the eternal God, who clothes the naked. Praise be the eternal God, who frees the captive. Praise be the eternal God, who lifts up the fallen. Praise be the eternal God, who makes firm our steps. Praise be the eternal God, who girds our people Israel with strength. Praise be the eternal God, who crowns Israel with glory. Praise be the eternal God, who gives strength to the weary. Praise be the eternal God, who removes sleep from the eyes, slumber from the eyelids. Those who are able, please rise as our service continues with the call to worship the Baruch Hu. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. la 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 la. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Baruch Hu en Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. La 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 la, 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 la 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 la. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Please be seated. And we continue on the top of page 6 as we chant together V'ahavta. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha veshinantam levadecha vedivarta bam veshivtecha bevetecha uvlechtecha vaderech uveshochbecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot ayadecha vehayu letotafot beinenecha uktavtam al mizuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tiskeru vasitem ekol mitzvotai vitem kedoshim lelohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher Hotzeiti etchem Meretz Mitzrayim Lihiot lachem Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem.
I continue on the top of
kamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot. Oseh veleh. Nora tehilot. Oseh veleh. Who is like you? Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? Moses and the children crossed the sea. They sang to you in songs of joy. Who is like you, Adonai? Children crossed the sea. They sang to you with songs of joy. Who is like you, Adonai? Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha nehedar We continue on the top of page 8, and we invite those who are able to rise to please stand as we continue with the chanting of the Amidah. Adonai, Ananana sfatai tiftach. Hananana ufi agi tegilatecha. Hananana Adonai, Hananana sfatai tiftach. Hananana ufi agi tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel, Ha'el, Hagadol, Hagibor, Ve'hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, Ve'zocher Chastei Avot V'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Le'ma'an Shemo Ve'ahava. Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Michayei HaKol, Atah Rav Lehoshia, Mechakel Chaim Bechesed, Michayei HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Tzomech Noflim Verofech Olim, Umatir Hasurim, Umekayim Emu. haba gevurot, umido melach, melech memit umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman nata l'hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeich hakol.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאיך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר,
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzivaot, Meloch kol haaretz hatef kevodo.
Adir, Adirenu Adonai, Adonenu ma'adir shimcha b'chol haaretz.
Baruch kevod Adonai mimkomo. Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu, hu Malkeinu, hu Moshienu, vehu Yashmienu, berachamav le'enei kol chai. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Yimloch Adonai le'olam, Elohai Yifsion, Ledor vador, Alleluia.
לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לעולם ועד.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated. At every Jewish service, we read from our Siddur, our prayer book, a fixed liturgy that's been handed down literally for thousands of years. And if you look at the words, if you read the translation, every service is kind of a mini ancient Jewish history lesson. It hits on all the important themes of the beginnings of our people. It sets the foundation. And we read these prayers over and over to be reminded of the history, which informs the values of our people and the responsibilities of living the life of a Jew. But in each of our services, we also like to spend some time in our own individual silent prayer, to have the opportunity to look inward and to pray the prayers that come not from the pages of a book, but from within. So we're going to take a few quiet moments, and I invite you, close your eyes if you wish, turn inward, think about your own life, think about the week that is past, the promise of tomorrow, and spend a few quiet moments in individual silent prayer. Tfilat Halev, the prayer of the heart.
us on page 12 when you're ready.
From the Jordan River to the Galilee, from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv, from the top of Masada to the Western Wall, you can feel it. Yes, it's real. From Theodore Herzl to Ben Gurion, from Golda Meir, the magic passes on. If you will it, you will see. If you dream it, it can be. You hold a piece of a dream. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You hold a piece of a dream, and it's a dream come true. A desert blooms, a dream comes true. A homeland's built for me and you. If we will it, it can be. If we dream it, we will see. We hold a piece of a dream. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We hold a piece of a dream, and it's a dream come true. Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, O Davidu Chai, 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 Chai. Join us. We hold a piece of a dream. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We hold a piece of a dream, and it's a dream come true.
Let's hear you.
We hold a piece of a dream. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We hold a piece of a dream, and it's a dream come true. And that dream come true, of course, is the modern state of Israel, which holds a very important and special place in the hearts of Jews all around the world. After all, we are Temple Israel. So we're going to make a transition now to the next part of our service. And it's a very important and wonderful and exciting part of the service, because in a moment we're going to turn around and open the doors of the ark and bring one of our Torah scrolls out into the congregation and lovingly pass it through the arms of Alyson's family to her. And then she's going to go off the bima and march around up and down the aisles as we're singing a joyous song, and you'll see several people leaning in and trying to get close to the Torah to give it a kiss, either with their talit or with their prayer book in hand. And this is an expression of our love and our reverence for the scroll and all it represents in Jewish life. It's the source of our faith. And you don't have to do that. But I just want you to know what this is all about and why it is we're doing it. You are welcome to if you like. And as Alyson is going around with the Torah, a group of her cousins are going to be coming around and passing out to you individually wrapped pieces of candy. I believe mint lifesavers. We're all going to have fresh smelling breath. I want you, I know it's difficult, I want you to hang on to that and to hold it quiet. Maybe put it on the seat next to you or slip it in a pocket, because those wrappers make a lot of noise. And the reason we're doing this is so that in another big special moment after Alyson has her special aliyah, which is the big honor of today, being called by her Hebrew name to read the Torah. At the end of that, we're going to invite you to take out that candy, leave it in the wrapper, and toss it oh so gently. Repeat after me. Thank you. Internalize that message. Up here onto the bima. And why do we do this? Because it's such a moment of joy. So that candy is the expression of the joy and the sweetness of that moment. And then we'll have a chance to pick up the candy, and later on you'll have permission to eat it. But if you do, please perform the mitzvah, the commandment of hanging on to the wrapper. Don't leave it sitting on the floor or on your seat. Let's respect the dignity and the sanctity of this space. So hang on to that wrapper if you open it up. So we call on to the bima for the honor of opening the ark this first time, cousins Jenny and John Golab. And I ask all who are able to please rise.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Udavar Adonai Mirushalayim, Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah, Le'amo Yisrael B'kedushato.
Alyson, what a privilege and what a pleasure it is for me to stand here with you, about to place this Torah through the arms of your family into your arms, both literally and figuratively, as you celebrate your bat mitzvah and begin this next chapter of your young adult Jewish life. We call the Torah a tree of life. It's a metaphor. Just as a real tree gives us shade and wood and oxygen and fruit and paper and all kinds of things that help to sustain and nurture our lives, the Torah gives us the history, the traditions, the commandments of our people. We have carried it with us wherever we have wandered the globe, and it has sustained and nourished us. So it's a pleasure now to invite your Grandma Nuni and your mom and dad onto the bima as we pass the Torah to you.
L'dor vador,
L'dor vador,
Nagid God lecha,
Nagid God lecha,
U'lanetzach netzachim kedushatcha nagdish.
At the end of his life, Moses spoke to the children of Israel and said, "It is not enough that you have received the Torah from me. You must make it new again in every generation."
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. Baruch atah Adonai, thank you, Eloheinu, Melech haolam, asher kiddushanu, b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, לעסוק בדברי תורה, לעסוק בדברי break Torah. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu לעסוק בדברי תורה, לעסוק בדברי תורה. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. We invite onto the bima for the honor of undressing the Torah cousins Jordan Maloy, Annabella Baker, and sister Alyson Maloy. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu לעסוק בדברי תורה, לעסוק בדברי תורה. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. Please be seated. So every week the Torah comes out of the ark, and we place it on our reading table, and we read the parsha, the Torah portion that's assigned to that week, the same Torah portion that Jews all around the world are reading. It wasn't written in 52 chapters, but long ago the rabbis divided the text so we would have this annual reading, and when we finish, we start all over again. Alyson's going to read a very special part of the Torah this afternoon that contains a blessing. In fact, that's exactly what she is going to read. If you've ever been to a bar bat mitzvah, anywhere, but if you've been to them here, you know that towards the end of the service, I invite the bar bat mitzvah student to stand with me up in front of the ark for what I call a quiet blessing. And we begin by speaking and talking about the experience that we just shared. And then I place my hands on their head, and I lovingly say these ancient words, Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, may God bless you and keep you. There's 3 lines to the prayer. Sometimes you hear me or other rabbis all around the world reciting this very same prayer at a baby naming, at a wedding, at someone becomes a Jew by choice, all very special and holy moments. We recite this special blessing, which has a long history because it goes all the way back to ancient times, first being recited by the Kohen Gadol, the high priest of the ancient temple. And I'm going to stop talking now because, number one, I talk too much. She's laughing because she knows how true. But also, mostly, because after the reading, Alyson is going to share with us her Devar Torah, a homily, a short sermon, a speech, where she's going to teach us about the meaning of this prayer and how it works. So we'll save it for her. We call several family members up onto the bima for the honor of the Aliyah for saying the blessing for the reading of the Torah, and then Alyson's going to chant from the scroll. Yamod Rishon, Tova bat Ephraim, Tova bat Miriam, Chanayafa bat Tova, Rivka bat Miriam, Yirmiyahu bat Miriam, David ben Sarah, Gabriela bat David, Malka bat David, Gedaliah ben Moshe v'Sarah, Ephraim ben Gedaliah. Here they all come up now. And Lynn Montjoy, Tova Baker, and Rebecca Maloy, uncles Jeremy Maloy, cousins Dave, Mia, Elka, Danny, and Johnny Neustadt, and Annabella Baker, who just celebrated her bat mitzvah, 2 months ago? Less than that? Yes. Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'harmanu mikol ha'amim v'natamanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'Torah. Amen. Amen. Alyson, do you know how lucky you are? You've got backup. You have such a big, loving, close family. That is so wonderful. What a blessing you have. And what a blessing to have them all, and more on the way, on the beach with us today. Yamod Sheni, Miriam bat Ephraim, Ari ben Miriam, Aliza bat Ari. We call for our second Aliyah, grandmother Mary Maloy, parents Benji and Pauline Maloy, and sister Alyson Maloy. Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Amen.
Alyson, Leha Shalom, Besamu, Etchni, Bnei Yisrael, Amu, Va'ani, Avarhem.
Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Whenever we have the Torah out in the congregation, we like to say special blessings. And especially blessings for good health and for healing, for strength for the people we love who are ailing and who need a little extra help. Our phone calls, our visits, a meal, a get well card, and our prayers. Anything that we can do to give them a little bit of encouragement and strength, which I promise you, and those of you who've ever been sick know this, it really makes a difference. It's not a prayer that promises a cure, but it's a prayer that brings healing and strength, both for the person who's ailing and for us who are praying for them to get better. So as my hand passes across the room, I invite you to say the names of friends and family members who are ailing, who would love to hear you and to know that you and all of us are praying for their recovery. And it works for Jew and Gentile, so don't be shy. Let us join together in our Misha Bera prayer for healing, which is on page, Karma?
16.
Page 16 in our Siddur. Bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. We shall Le'avotenu that falls in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We add to those names mentioned aloud those of us here who are in need of these same blessings for refuat nefesh and refuat guf, for healing of mind and body and spirit. Baruch atah Adonai rofeh hacholim. Blessed are you, O God, who heals the sick. Amen. There's something at this moment that is a tradition here at Temple Israel, as it is in many congregations around the country, not all, but many. And that's to take a moment to twin each of our bar and bat mitzvah students with a young child who did not survive the Holocaust, who did not have the opportunity to stand in a synagogue surrounded by loving family and friends, smiling and clapping and enjoying a joyous moment, because somebody thought that being Jewish was a crime. And so their lives were cut short. And we don't want to forget that that happened, because it's a lesson for us, and it's a lesson for the world, and it's a lesson that I learned over and over again from your great-grandmother, Alyson, who we all called Omi, Rosemeyer, who was a survivor of the Holocaust, but it did not dim her spirit. It did not take away her ability to love. And the lesson she taught all of us, with a beautiful sparkle in her blue eyes, was don't hate. She also said don't do drugs and stay in school. And she taught that anywhere she was allowed and invited to speak, in schools, at the temple, at the university, and she touched many lives. And we are thinking about her today for sure, and how proud she would be to watch you. So we twin your bat mitzvah, not just with someone that we found in a database, but with a member of your family, one of Omi's siblings who didn't survive. And that's very powerful, that you invoke her name today. So please share with us this dedication.
As I become a bat mitzvah, I pledge to remember my great aunt, Ursula Lovenbrun. Ursula was born on July 15, 1930. She was Rose Meyer's younger sister. Rose, of who most of us know as Omi, was my great-grandmother. In 1941, Ursula, Omi, and the rest of the family were sent to Riga ghetto. At Riga, Jews were routinely
Reunited.
shot or hung for minor offenses, and many were literally worked or starved to death. Shortly after arriving to Riga, it was determined that anyone who could not work should be killed. On November 2nd, 1943, Ursula, her younger brother Ernest, and her mother Mary were sent to the gas chambers. Ursula was 12 years old when she was murdered by the Nazis. Today, I remember her and read Torah in her honor. on Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day, I will remember her. When I say Mourner's Kaddish, I will remember her. Great Aunt Ursula could not become a bat mitzvah. I'm doing this for her, for me, and for the Jewish people. I make this pledge in honor for all of those who perished in the Holocaust.
Thank you for sharing that with us. And thank you for standing here and celebrating your bat mitzvah and sharing it with us, because the very best thing that we can do in the face of all that hate, in the face of all that sadness, is to go on being proud Jews and living full, meaningful Jewish lives, and not to be afraid. Are you ready? Because this is your big moment. I'm getting myself all worked up. It is such a pleasure to call you to the Torah by your Hebrew name. Tamod habat mitzvah, Rina bat Ari. We call our bat mitzvah Alyson Maloy.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bahar Banu Mikol Hamim V'nata Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Amen. Simen tov and mazel tov and mazel tov and simen tov and mazel tov and mazel tov and simen tov and mazel tov and mazel tov and simen tov. Yehelanu, 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 Ula kolam Yisrael. 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 Good job. I wasn't expecting it to hail mints today. In a moment, I'm going to lift the Torah before we place it back, dress it lovingly and place it back in the ark. And that's another significant ritual that says, this is not a private text held by some priest or locked in a cabinet somewhere. It is a gift that was given to the Jewish people and through the Jewish people to the rest of the world. The foundation of 3 great faiths, the Bible. A blueprint for building a world at peace if we would only learn from it and follow those commandments. And while I do that, we have a job to do because we have to clean up all this candy. So we're inviting all the young people, self-defined. David still thinks he's one of those kids. And he's about to be the temple president. But the ground rules are this. We come up in slow motion. And we're polite, and we don't push, and we shove, and we only take a few pieces of candy that we walk out and give to all the adults. I have tried this line for years now, and they just don't listen to me. But I think you understand. Let's respect one another when we come up on to the bima. And remember, if you eat the candy, please don't leave the wrappers here. And open them. Well, you can't even open them quietly. Let's not open them during the Devar Torah. So we invite up onto the bima for the honor of dressing the Torah cousins Johnny Neustadt, Liam Baker, and Lil Jeremy Smith. And for the honor of opening the ark, Uncle Jeremy Montjoy and Uncle John Baker, and I ask you all to please rise.
Bezot HaTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai veyad Moshe ki lekachtav natati lachem Torati al ta'azovu. Shalom, 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 shalom.
Look up the candy.
Shalom, shalom. Eis vayim hila machazikim avetom keha me'ushar. Eis vayim hila machazikim avetom keha me'ushar. Shalom, 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 shalom. It is a tree of life to them that hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. It is a tree of life to them that hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. Shalom, 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 shalom. Please be seated. Nice and loud, big personality, okay? We'll wait till it quiets down.
Dramatize.
Okay. Remember, stand in the middle, too.
There once was a rich man named Jacob sitting in his synagogue on Shabbat morning. As he did every week, he participated in the service. But it wasn't long before he quietly yawned, rested his head on the palm of his hand, and fell fast asleep. He slept soundly through the service until the Torah reading, when he woke up just as the rabbi was chanting line from the Torah where God commands, "You shall bake 12 loaves of challah and set them before me in 2 rows, 6 in each row." That was it. Then he yawned and fell back asleep. At the end of the service, Jacob woke up, and the words of that commandment were still ringing in his ears. But he was a bit confused. Was it a dream? Or perhaps did God just command him personally to do this mitzvah? He wasn't sure, but he was certain that that's what he heard. So Jacob ran home to bake 12 loaves of challah for God. But now he had a problem. How was he going to get the challahs to God? He decided that the synagogue was the holiest place he knew, and that the ark that holds the Torah was the holiest place in the synagogue. So he ran back to the synagogue, opened the ark, and carefully placed the 12 loaves of challah inside. No sooner had Jacob left than David, the caretaker of the synagogue, who was a simple poor man, came to tidy up the place. He stopped in front of the holy ark. "Oh God," he said, "my family and I are so hungry and we're almost out of food. I pray that you show your compassion to me and my family, and I will be eternally grateful." When he finished his prayer, David opened the ark and finished his dusting, and lo and behold, there were 12 loaves of challah. So David, with great excitement, thanked God for answering his prayers as he gathered the challahs and ran home to tell his family about the miracle. No sooner had David left when Jacob the rich man came back, curious to see if God had received his challahs. And lo and behold, they were gone. "Oh my God," he said to himself, "God really did command me to do this mitzvah. Next week, I'll be back with 12 more challahs, and next time there'll be even fancier challahs with raisins." The continuation of the story, as you can all imagine, is that Jacob the rich man comes back the following week with 12 new challahs, followed by David the poor caretaker who finds the challahs, both thinking it's a miracle. And it goes on like this, week after week, month after month, until one week the rabbi, who was standing quietly in the back of the room, witnessed the whole scene. He was inspired both by Jacob's generosity and David's gratitude, by the innocent belief by both that God was behind the whole thing, doing a miracle. But he felt they needed to know the truth of what was really happening. So he brought the two of them together and explained what he had seen. There was no miracle. Jacob the rich man said, "Oh, I'm so silly. I should have known God doesn't eat challah." And David the poor man said, "Oh, I'm so silly too. I should have known God doesn't bake challah." But the rabbi, hearing their comments, told them both they need to continue. Jacob should keep bringing challahs, and David should take them home to his family. Then he said something very powerful. Taking their hands in his, he held them up and said to both of them, "Your hands are the hands of God." As I share this moving story with you today, because I think it helps us to understand an important theme of my Torah portion, which is all about blessings. As Rabbi Gossoff just said a few minutes ago, my Torah portion contains the well-known Birkat Kohanim, the priestly blessing that was first recited by the high priest of the ancient temple. For thousands of years, that same blessing has been recited by the Kohanim, the descendants of the ancient priests, in a special ceremony called duhening, and it is used by rabbis on special occasions. Fun factoid: those of you who have ever seen the Star Trek TV series will surely remember Mr. Spock holding up his hand like this as he said his most famous line, "Live long and prosper." Well, that unusual hand sign is exactly what the Kohanim do when they recite the blessing during the duhening ceremony. They put their talit over their heads as they stand in front of the congregation reciting the prayer. Leonard Nimoy, the actor who played Spock, remembers seeing this in a synagogue growing up as a kid. Even though you're not supposed to look. And it was his idea to bring that to the show. Let's take a look now at the blessing. A close look will help us to understand the role of the Kohanim in Judaism, in ancient times and today, and also help us to understand how blessings work in our tradition. Here's the whole text in English, both 3 lines of blessing, the ones that start with, "May God," and the verses before and after. The Torah says, The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to Aaron and his sons. These words you shall bless the people of Israel. Say to them, May God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May God's face be lifted up upon you and grant you peace. Thus they shall place my name on the people of Israel, and I myself will bless them. Those two verses before and after the 3 lines of blessing raise important questions. First, why does God tell the Kohanim the exact words they are supposed to use in blessing the people? And second, why does God specifically say, I myself will bless them? To answer both of the questions, at least in the eyes of rabbinic commentary, is the same. The Torah wants to emphasize the fact that the Kohanim are not the source of the blessing, they're just rather its conduits. Just in case if you don't understand that word, a conduit is something that makes a connection between one thing and another, like a water pipe, or a pipe that protects electric wires. So in this case, the Kohanim, like conduits, are channeling the blessing that come from God. The same point is driven home by the unnecessary repetition of God's name in the beginning of each of the 3 lines of the Birkat Kohanim. The author of the blessing could have just said God's name once, but instead it is repeated 3 times, perhaps again, to make the point that all actions described in the blessing are things that God and God alone will perform. To imagine that the Kohanim are themselves the source of blessing, or to assume they have some magical power to guarantee it, is to give them more power than any human being could ever have. Do you get it? If the Kohanim were allowed to believe that the blessing came from them, they would be in danger of being so stuck up and so self-centered, Mr. Big Shot, thinking they themselves were the center of the universe and not God. One more point. If the people, especially in ancient times, were led to believe that the Kohen, the source of the blessing, they might be taken advantage of. They might have thought that the Kohen, because of its important position, really did have the power to make these things happen. Sadly, this happens even today, when people in power make promises they have no intention of keeping. To be sure, the Torah here teaches us something important about the Kohanim. They are not gods. They are just people like you and me. It also teaches us a very important lesson about blessings and how they work and how they are supposed to work. We are not sources but channels of blessing. We do not create the goodness, we just pass it on. A good teacher of Torah, for example, is not the source of Torah's wisdom. He or she is just the conduit, capturing that wisdom and passing it on. Good parents as well are conduits for goodness and blessing that come from a special place in their own hearts. It is because they have been loved and they have good memories and good experience to draw from that they can pass that love on to their children. The parent's job is not to manufacture love, but to pass it on. Some people think that when they do a good deed for someone else, they are owed something in return. That's why they do a mitzvah. But that totally misses the point. That's not why we are supposed to do a mitzvah. The same is true for blessings. It's not supposed to be about you and what you want. A true blessing is given with no expectation of return. I started my Devar Torah off with the story about the hollows in the ark, which ends with the rabbi's statement, "Your hands are the hands of God." I think in a certain way that message of the story is the same message of my Torah portion. When Jacob the rich man baked the hollows and put them in the ark, he was a conduit for God's blessing, and he was doing something, a mitzvah, that God could not do alone. When David, the poor janitor, received the hollows with so much gratitude and innocent belief, he was the recipient of the blessing. Without him, the blessing, the mitzvah, could not happen. I challenge you to think about what I have shared today. Think about all the people in your life and how you can be a blessing to them when your heart is in the right place. You can be a conduit for blessing and goodness. Your actions and your words can truly make a difference that can lift people up and help to make our world a better place. Be a mitzvah maker and mitzvah doer. Then, your hands too can be the hands of God. Speaking of doing a mitzvah, all the students in our temple are asked to make a tzedakah contribution in honor of their bar or bat mitzvah. Tzedakah means righteous giving. In honor of my bat mitzvah, I will be giving 10% of the cash gifts I received to Alyson Hospital, a very special pediatric rehabilitation facility in Israel. Alyson treats children from Israel and from all around the world who suffer from a wide range of congenital and acquired conditions. It is a leading hospital worldwide in the field of pediatric rehabilitation. I choose this important facility for my tzedakah gift because, as most of you know, I have always been interested in medicine and dream of becoming a doctor. And now for some thank yous. First, I would like to thank Rabbi Gwozdov for helping me write my Devar Torah and helping me get ready for today. Also, he's a pretty rad person. Not bad for a rabbi. Karma, thank you for teaching me how to chant my Torah portion and for being so patient and encouraging. Thanks for always putting up with my nonsense. Lindy, thank you for singing so beautifully today and bringing so much joy and energy into our service, as you always do. Alyssa, thank you for putting up with me all these years. I know you always said you wanted a little brother or a tree house, but you know what's better than both of those? A little sister, me. Seriously, thank you for being such a great big sister and always having my back. Noni, I know you don't like being called grandma because it sounds old, but you're the greatest grandma I could ever ask for. Thank you for buying me my beautiful talit and always showing me so much love and encouragement. Mom and Dad, you are the best parents a kid could ever have. You are both so loving and supportive of everything I do, always cheering me on from the sidelines, whether it's sports or band. You have always encouraged me to do my very best and to reach for the stars. I love you both so much. Last but not least, I'd like to thank everyone who came today from near and far to celebrate my big day with me. Your presence helps to make this a real celebration. Shabbat Shalom.
Alyson. Alyson. Who are you? I thought she was shy. I thought she was quiet. I thought she was demure. Wrong on 3 accounts. And I couldn't be happier to discover who you really are, which is a firecracker, a bundle of energy, a font of tremendous wisdom for someone so young, and a very special, amazing, wonderful person. I am so proud of you, as is every person in this room. We are just bursting with what we call nachas, which is Yiddish for pride. And we are so inspired by everything you did today, by the way you led the service, your beautiful chanting of the Torah, and this amazingly meaningful and profound message that you shared with us about how blessings are really supposed to work. And it's a really good reminder for all of us. It's not about us, right? Because if a blessing is self-serving and is only about the person who's giving it, then it's really pretty thin and doesn't have the same kind of meaning as if it's directed towards the person we're blessing. And as you were sharing that message with us, I jumped right back to a comment I made when you had all those members of your family up here, and I said, they have your back, you got backing. Because you are the living embodiment of all the love that's been poured into you from all the members of your family. I think about Omi coming here, first to New York, New Jersey, with nothing, having lost everything. And she built a new life, and she built a family. She built a legacy. And you are the recipient of all that love and all that tradition that's been passed down to you. And I've had the pleasure, because I've been here almost 30 years, of being a part of so many family simchas, so many celebrations. Your dad was in my first confirmation class. Yes, he was a goofball.
Just like me.
But in a good way. And I remember he liked pizza. And what we've witnessed today is the transmission of all that love and all that tradition to you. And you are such a worthy recipient. In your mom's speech, she said that you, from the youngest age, have been talking about being an astronaut EMT. Not enough just to be an EMT, you have to be an astronaut too. And you have a whole narrative around what that means, how you're going to go on the spaceship and you're going to heal people. And oh. Wow. When we go into the room, we're going to have a great party, and it has a theme that also comes from something that is a joke in your family that I think started with your mom, because she always said, Alyson Wonderland. And you know, Alyson Wonderland is a crazy, crazy story in a world that's topsy-turvy, where things don't make sense. It's really even hard to understand what's going on in the story. And it's fun. It's fun to grasp that. And you're dressed as Alice in Wonderland today. That's what the dress is all about. And I love it. But being a Jew and being a bat mitzvah is encountering that world of chaos and trying to do our best to bring order and sanity, to build, if we can, a world of goodness where we care about other people and do our best to fix the problem so we're not stuck in the Alice in Wonderland. And that's the theme of today. And that's who you are. And we are so very proud of you. And I can't wait to see what you're going to do with all these brains up here and your wonderful personality. And as your mom said, and your dad, I'm certain that whatever you put your mind to doing, you're going to achieve. So my blessing for you is that you will continue to be a blessing for your family, for our community, and for the world. Mazel tov. And won't you join me for a quiet blessing? The Birkat Kohanim.
May your eyes shine with the light of Torah, and your face be radiant as the brightness of a sky. May your lips
It's my pleasure to invite onto the bima the first vice president of our board of directors, your uncle, Dave Neustadt. Cousin, right. I always get that mixed up.
Everybody does. Alyson. Ooh. Rabbi didn't say it, so I will. Wow! Missed that. He had his chance. I'm so excited. I couldn't believe it was you up here until when we were standing there and you happened to look at me and you gave me the crazy Alyson eyes. Then I knew it was you up here. So you did such a great job. I'm so proud of you. Omi would be proud of you. But on behalf of the board of directors from Temple Israel, we present you with your certificate that you've completed and you are now a bat mitzvah. And we have this cool Kiddush cup with your name on it. It has your name and the date today, so you'll always remember.
The tree presentations. We have a tree, as you know, out in our lobby. We call our simcha tree, which means joy, and it has engraved on every leaf the name of members of our congregation and special occasions in their lives, like a wedding or a special anniversary or a baby naming or a bat mitzvah. And there's a brand new leaf on that tree today, and it has your name on it. And I hope every time you walk through that lobby, you find your leaf and remember how you feel today, the joy and the blessing of this special day in your life. And remember to keep it shined up. And finally, we talked about Israel. We sang Piece of the Dream and how important it is to our people. Not so long ago, we didn't have a place that we could call our own. And Jews started thinking maybe it was time to go back home to our ancient homeland. And when they did, about 150 years ago, all they found were deserts. And they decided if this was going to be a place that would sustain life, they needed to start planting. And so with the help and donations of Jews from all around the world and the Jewish National Fund, they started to plant trees, and over 200 million trees later, and I'm not making up that number, Israel is once again the Garden of Eden and a place that sustains life. And there's one new tree planted in Israel in honor of your bat mitzvah, and it's a gift from me and Lindy and Karma and our staff and teachers here at Temple Israel. And not if, but when you go to Israel to visit, your job is to find that tree. Good luck. It's not going to have a plaque on it, but just go and find one, and that's your tree. But know that we tie your bat mitzvah with the upbuilding of our ancient homeland made new again. We invite up onto the bima for the final opening of our ark, Auntie and Uncle Rebecca and Pedro Batista. As we pick up our Siddur once again, and turn to page 18, and those who are able, please rise for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, lateit gedula leotzer breshit, shelo asanu kigoyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishvechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר וחיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
Before we conclude each of our services, we take a moment to remember, to hold in our hearts our precious loved ones who are no longer with us physically, but who we hold in our hearts and our minds, and so they do continue to carry and to bless us. And especially at these joyous occasions, we're thinking about them and imagining their faces and the joy that they would share at a moment like this. We're especially remembering Omi Meyer and Ernst Meyer and Palma Cordova and Lala Renaga. As we remember all of our loved ones, and in their honor, turn to page 19 as we recite together Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, b'yalma divra cherutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon, u'v'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kari v'yimru amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lomei omaya. Yitbarak v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudisha barichu la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav Hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. May the one who makes peace in the high places make peace for all of us here on earth. And let us say, Amen. I'm kind of afraid of what might happen, but I'm inviting the family to join us on the bima as we sing our final song and do Kiddush and Motzi. I think there might be enough room, maybe. Oh, that one. That's long way.
Osei shalom b'mromav, Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, Say shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 oh say shalom b'mromav, Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Oh, say shalom Ibrahima, Booyah, say shalom Aleinu, Be'akol Yisrael, Be'akol Yoshvei Tevel, Be'imru, Amen. Be'imru, Amen. One more time. Be'imru, Amen.
Okay, Alyson, please lift the Kiddush cup as we join together in Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Amen. L'chaim. And the blessing we're about to sing together is for this beautiful challah, the Shabbat challah, but it's also the blessing for the meal that we're about to share, at the conclusion of the service in 20 seconds. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Mazel Tov.